I also tell my kids, if you can't do it now, make an appointment. Make an appointment with your feelings, you know? And if you can't voluntarily leak, find the song or the movie or the clip or the photo that is the trigger, is the key to your emotional place. But you have to be able to reach your emotional place. If you can't reach your emotional place, how are you loving? Where are you loving from? Because those things sit in the same place. Your feelings are all sitting in the same place, the good ones and the bad ones. So if you are locking these ones out, utizawuphuma is right ke ezozifunayo zizawuphuma phi because uthixele eziyana vula.
But is it important to you to be immortalized in your work?
What's important to me is to say to my children, you can do anything you want to do and to be proof of it. That's what's important.
What was the moment that you realized that?
So the moment I was given the information, I was like, oh, okay. Like this white guy was, I think he was a Reiki, and he was like, at the time I only had one child. He was like, you're the father of your son, and the man you're seeing right now, the three of you are triplets. And I was like, oh.
Why do you think things are so sour with?
Because he still wants my bums. Hello, Buddha.
Unjani?
Ndisharp groot wena.
Ndi-right.
What?
Ndifuna uqala ngento esimple.
Thetha bhuti.
Kubani uZu?
uZu, mother of lions.
Ewe.
Mama wengonyama.
Khalisi.
Uyayiva ngo-Dracarys. Imvumi. Ngumntu onothando. I'm a storyteller. I'm a healer. I think I'm ready to own that. Ndingumntu wabantu. Ndingumntu onothando. Ndingulisa ndingijambasa. I'm a light. Yeah. Where I am, there's light and laughter. Ndakuthanda uhleka. Yeah. That's who Zu is.
There's something that I've learned about people like that. You know, people that take joy in bringing joy to others usually have a locus of sadness.
No, it's true. I think that people who feel deeply have felt deep things. And so it's our nature to feel and to also make people feel seen and heard and understood, to hold space, as they say, because uyayazi, you recognize, feeling and pain and joy, and the balance of feeling is all those things. Xa ungumntu ovanzulu, you feel all the things deeply, the pain, the joy, the laughter. It's the people whose eyes disappear when they're laughing, the people whose eyes swell when they're crying. So I do not disagree with you at all. Yeah, I've felt my fair share of pain.
But how do you balance that in trying to create something to bring joy
by
or
feeling,
some comfort to people?
By feeling.
By feeling it.
By being dinepura your feeling. And I'm very articulate in feelings. I do not shy away from my feelings, all of them. If I like someone, I'll tell them. If I don't like someone, I'll distance myself. You don't necessarily need to tell them that. But if I'm sad, I'll sit and I'll cry. If I coach a bunch of kids, if something they've said has touched me, like the other day they were singing a song so beautifully, I cried. I'm big on leaking before we burst. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, but we must feel our feelings, all of them.
What brought you to that point that demands that you feel your feelings? Is there a point where you burst at some point, or is it always been something?
So my algorithm is full of deep things right now, and I saw a video recently that says pain travels through generations until someone's ready to feel it. I think I was created to feel generational pain. I feel it. I know that my mom was going through some stuff when she had me in her belly. I carry it. You know, so I've lived with depression for longer than, you know, I can remember, since I was 9, you know. 9. Even before, because there's some things in my memory that like really cut me, that don't go away. Those memories don't go away. So I'm aware that my sadness is old, you know. And there's a point where you feel it so much and you feel it so deeply that you can either disappear into it or get to know it, you know. So as someone who's lived with depression my entire life, and I've tried to unalive myself a couple of times as well, you know. So you kind of reach a point where you have to have an honest conversation with yourself. What's wrong? Why are you in so much pain? What's hurting you? You know, because if you don't have that conversation with yourself, then you end up becoming the pain. And it's easy to become the pain. Like I was telling the kids that when you sit in the dark for too long and then you switch the lights on, you do this. Because the light is harsh. It's easier to sit in the dark, right? So I didn't like feeling the way I felt. I didn't like who I was. You know, there's a point where I lost a friendship and I had to sit with myself and ask myself, why did she leave me? I loved her, she loved me. Why doesn't she want to be my friend anymore? And I was like, yo, you're toxic as fuck. You're dark. You seem to enjoy being the victim. I used to be so messy. You know, I'd project and I was angry. I had so many unresolved feelings. So I had to sit. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like what it feels like to be me, you know? So, yeah, I think if you are honest enough with yourself, you get to a point where you have to unpack and then pack it up nicely, you know? And then what doesn't fit, you throw away or you give away or you burn, whatever. But like, sort your shit out.
Is that unpacking the fuel behind one of my favorite songs by you?
Which is what?
Aha moment.
Absolutely. So the aha moment comes to me during COVID. I'm doing this thing called Music Monday, where I get litty on a Sunday, and then Monday, whatever came from that, I share on my pages, you know. And it was in a time where artists couldn't perform, the country was shut down, the world was dying, we were dying, we didn't know what was going on, we were afraid, you know. I was in a deep depression. I was struggling with postpartum depression. So the postpartum and the depression were like, hey, friend, how you doing? And then they were both sitting here and I was like, I need to do something. And fortunately, it was at a time where I'd already realized why music is my medicine. You know, I'd already gotten past that realization. So I knew the more you sing, the more you heal. The more you sing, the more you purge. You know, that leak before you burst is not just tears, it's also singing for me, you know. So I'm at home, I'm sad, baby daddy's doing the things, doing the most. And it's like, is it something I've done? Have I shown you a side to me you didn't want to see? Oh, rescue me. This booze ngawe. Ah, kokuchonila. Kebusuku. Aha. You know? And that's what it is. For a while, it just sits there and it's painful. You know, you think that the person cooking the thing doesn't think, wow, this is delicious. No, I sit there and I'm like, yo, see, hey, you go, mama. Like, you know? And so I sit with that song, and then eventually, you know, we're out of COVID, and we're here now, and I'm like, yo, this thing of giving you guys Music Monday, you are just taking from me, and like nothing's coming from it. So then I'm like, excuse me, let's go back to these ideas. There are gems here, you know? And I sit with the ideas, and I sit with the song, and I start writing it, and I start unpacking, you know, because even though I'm very well versed in feeling, sometimes I just want to feel and zap. Can't feel the whole thing. You'll get too caught up in it, you know? Just leak a little bit before you burst, you know? So then now I'm coming back and I'm like, okay, let's sit with these feelings now that we can have them here and not so much here, you know? Because when the feelings are here, sometimes you can't think, you can't like, you know? So now that I know what the feeling is, I've seen it, I've put it away, now I've pulled it back out, let's unpack it. So yeah, it is unpacking that gives us the aha moment and then gives us tones of epiphany, because we want the aha moment slow and then we want it fast and up here and down here, and let's unpack it, you know. And even as far as saying on my status updates on WhatsApp, I'm like, yo, let's have some voice notes about loss and grief, you know. And 2 people volunteer themselves, like, yo, I'll do it. I'll give you something about pain and loss and grief, you know. And that's what we have. We have Mutinta and Christy on this project talking about different kinds of loss and different kinds of grief, you know, the ones talking about losing a friend and the ones talking about losing someone to death, you know. And I was talking about all kinds of loss and grief, but it is exactly that, unpacking it, unpacking the pain, unpacking the grief, unpacking the hurt, the anger even, you know. And even unpacking, you know, when you lose someone, you lose a part of yourself, you know. So that's exactly what the aha moment was.
And where are you in those moments of reflection, and who are you in those moments of
like
reflection?
During? Yeah. I'm a vessel. So I like to think that I'm a messenger, and sometimes the messages are for me, and then you just get to, you know, reap the rewards of my, you know, opening myself up to that. But it does always feel like an out-of-body experience, in a sense that when I recorded the aha moment in June last year, we went into studio, we did it. Even in studio, there are parts of the songs that I didn't go to studio with. I received them in studio. You know, there's a part in the song that's called The Aha Moment, which is initially 86 BPM, because they're all named according to their tempos. There's a section there at the end where I call them the Mountain Girls. Those girls, I don't know where those girls came from, but I received them and I hosted them. So you understand, right? You know, so I received those girls, and when I listen to them, they haunt me. That's me singing, like it was me, my mouth, my voice, but they haunt me. They are new every time. It's a portal for me, because I bobhlagan bam, you know, I'm literally receiving vibes, messages, lessons, you know. So who am I in that moment? I'm a tool. I'm a portal, you know. I'm a gateway between wherever these things are coming from and us here in the flesh.
And how do you contend with that realization, being the daughter of a pastor?
Takes a sip. Listen, my parents are very aware of me. I actually am in awe of myself and how, like, aware I've been. Like, I'm always like, I just realized, I'm like, you know. So my parents, even though they are on this journey of realizing who I am every day with me, as I'm teaching them who I am as well, I don't know how I got to get that right so young, because I've always taught them who I am. I've always been very stubborn.
What's your earliest recollection of
So my parents say that even when I was a child, like there in the 7, 9, 10s, I was telling them, ukhula kwam andizukuya ecaweni. Ukhula kwam ndiyaya kuba ninyanzela. Kodwa xa iseyichoice yam andizukuya ecaweni. You know, and so they've always known that. And then I was still a teenager when I watched the Zeitgeist, and I was like, Christ, Miegeni and Mazi, what's that? You know, it's not real, you know. And so it's always been like this, you know, kind of thing. But also, I think they see me. They learn me every day, but I think they've always seen me and my very sensitive but also very fiery spirit. You know, I'm more stubborn than I realized. You know, because I'm like, yo, that's you've always been this hand. You use a stubborn hand. You know, so I'm proud because I've always kind of stayed true to myself, and I honestly think that's a music thing. I think music has been my magic carpet.
How old were you when you discovered music?
Dude, as soon as I could walk, you know, and even before, because before you eat, you pray. Any Xhosa home, never mind cawe home, any Xhosa home, siyombela. You know, whatever. Black people are singers. We are song people. We are people of song. Yes, so I'm pure.
How did that happen in Johannesburg?
Right?
How did that happen?
Church. They met in church.
Mm.
They met in church and then they went to night school together and they were just like, those people.
And they've been together ever since.
And they've been together ever since, through thick and thin. Despite... We have the illusion of options.
You. Perfect word, illusion.
Yeah. We have the illusion of options. We give up so easily. But also, we're liberated now. We're feminists now. And like, I'm a feminist. I'm a humanist. I'm not anti. And kutwa feminism is a white thing. But I think we see kapezulu when we say that, So I think we don't have staying power just because we have the illusion of options. And there's so much going on, social media, magazines, there's we want more.
There's always what's the saying? There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Exactly, but Zawlam. So I think also we weren't raised to be compatible.
What do you mean?
So you are still taught that we must take care of you and do your laundry and be a woman or submissive.
Okay.
And we are now being taught that we don't need to marry you. We don't need you. We can get jobs. We can be independent. And that's not wrong. But I do think it's anti-blackness.
Definitely.
Because we're supposed to be a family. We're supposed to tribe. To human is a team sport. Can't human alone, And now we're here in the urbans with the high walls and the electric fences, and we're independent. And I can drive. I don't need it's tricky.
Like I don't know how many metrics have shown that the more independent we've become in the 21st century, the lonelier we've become, because our parents had the privileges of like how your parents met, where you church orientated, you community orientated, you might not have a lot, but you have the community.
Yes.
You might not have a lot of space, but you have company.
Now I don't need you.
Now I don't need you.
But I do. I need you. I need you, black man.
And there's that promise of something better coming along.
The illusion.
The
lie.
illusion of something better coming along.
The carrot. That keeps moving.
My aunt is in her 70s now. I think she's 70 this year, and she's been married to my uncle for almost 40 years, if not more. And what's the typical thing that generation says about our generation is abakwazi unyamezela abantwana.
See, it's tricky.
And I have a strange suspicion that part of all izinto ezinyamezelwayo are things that today's people are not willing to.
I won't. You cheat on me. Every year there's a new Betty, and I must just. No, like I can question you now, and you need to be accountable. So I think we're failing to be accountable. We're failing to be transparent. We're failing to be honest with ourselves. We're not having honest conversations with ourselves. And therefore, I'm not introducing the right version of me when I meet you. And so we're marrying people we don't know.
Yeah. Dr.
And you're
Theo.
discovering 2, 3, 4 years down the line into your marriage. And by that time, you're supposed... Humans are ever evolving. So I was going to change anyway. But now when I'm changing from a thing you already didn't know into another thing you don't know, because we're strangers. And like our finances are intertwined, our blood is in those little strangers we're raising. But I don't know you. And I don't know myself. So now there's a problem. I don't think we're having honest conversations with ourselves. I think, so I always say to the kids, self-love is self-love. And if you love yourself, then you can set boundaries and teach people how to treat you and teach the universe how to treat you, If you didn't order this from the universe, if not what you ordered, send it back. But like you take it because I'm thirsty though. It's not what I ordered, but I'm parched, so I'm going to have it. No, send it back. It's not what I ordered.
I don't think we are comfortable with the idea of being alone in the 21st
century. It's not nice
century.
to be alone. And it also makes you look like something's wrong with you. Society says, you're so beautiful, but you're single. You crazy, ain't you? Crazy, man. Right? So it's not fashionable, it's not socially acceptable, it's not comfortable, you know, and you start to personalize and chest people's opinions of you, you know. It's like the chat of, oh, you have kids with so many men, what's wrong with you? Why isn't the question what's wrong with them? Why they couldn't keep me? Why is that not the question? You know, so I think that's we're in a time now as a society where we're uncomfortably, painfully comfortable bullying each other and projecting, you know, because you live your life a certain way, you want everyone to live according to this, you know, because you're not brave enough to do that, you need to shut everyone who is brave enough to do that down so you don't feel swag, right? Because you're envious, you're mad, because I'm doing the thing you want to do, but you're not brave enough to do it.
You said it's an illusion of options,
Yeah.
but I think we have many illusions that we do not recognize, you know, because even the supposedly traditionally successful couples, you know, the young professionals drive the nice car, you wear your Sunday best at church and all that.
Kodwa niyasokola behind closed doors because abantu bazawuthini.
Yay.
Sikhuliswe kusithiwa abantu bazawuthini.
Yay.
Yenzela abantu.
So I think us not being compatible with ourselves is part and parcel how we are raised, you know, especially in black families. We do not talk about things, you know, things are not, we do not talk about things. I mentioned earlier that the only conversation I've ever had with my mom was about relationships was when I was like 20 or 19, and that's the only relationship I ever had with her. And I could see the uncomfortable tension between us.
Because it's also like if I talk to you about it, it means I'm supporting and encouraging it, right? There's that idea in our families, but once you talk about that thing, it means you are co-signing. You know? Don't talk to them about sex. But like they're talking about sex amongst themselves. So you should be the go-to because you actually know more than his friends, right? But it's like our parents want to create this, and not from malice, shame, you know, but they want to create this idea of perfection so that we can emulate that. Meanwhile, that's not how it works, right? We don't listen to what you say. We look at how you live and what you do, right? And then we make up our own minds. Because we're also our own people with our own will and our own ideas and urges and.
I think another thing is that we do not give enough credit to the fact that we are not as superior as we think we are. You know, like we have this thing as human beings that we are God's chosen on this earth. You know, that narrative alone is enough to mess you up, because when you start to see yourself as the chosen of a divine being, you feel
you can do no wrong.
You can do no wrong, you know, whereas if you then come to a place at least where you concede, go to you know, a civilized animal, if we can put it that way. And being that civilized animal, you have to then take into account the things that what's the word? That rule you, you know, your emotions,
your impulses, your emotions,
the factors that influence you, the full moon being present.
Hey, come on, listen, listen to the stars, listen to the stars, talk to the water, hug the trees.
One of the things we do not agree on is astronomy. Like, we were about to get into it. Here's an opportunity, make your case.
No, look, so you know how we are energy, and you and I agree that you're God and I'm God, right? So I'm of the belief that everything that carries energy, right, and is what we are, we share energy, makes up who we are, right? So if the moon affects you, surely the planets also affect you, and the stars and their positioning when you were born affects you, right? We're going into a 12-year cycle now. I think it's Venus that's moving out of is it Venus? There's a planet that's moving out of a 12-year cycle into another 12-year cycle, right? So I think that the same way I can respect Buddhism and Rastafari and Islam and, you know, take pieces of everything and be like, okay, this is what makes sense to me. Astrology and numerology and all of those things should also be able to be sprinkled as spices and herbs in the recipe that makes up who we are, you know? And whether you believe in the planets or not, they're out there and they're emitting energy and they're doing something up there, right?
Definitely.
And if we can acknowledge the sun changing life for us and the moon having a conversation with us and the water, we're also water, by the way, then surely we should be able to give a bit of respect to the planets as well for the role that they are playing in the ether, in the energy, you know? So I'm not like trying to sell the thing, but like there's also this thing called human design that I'm really into that I discovered like 2 years ago, that uses your birth chart to kind of like tell you which parts of you are defined and which parts of you are open, and like it's almost like a decision-making compass tool, right, that tells you where you can trust in your body. Like, for instance, I have an open crown chakra. My decisions are not based on logic. My decisions are based on how I feel, you know? How my solar plexus is what's defined, and I have a defined throat chakra, and the conversation is between my feelings and my voice, right? That's the conversation. And if you think about Zu and who that is, you know, if you ask anyone on the streets who Zu is, they will tell you about feelings. They'll tell you about mental health awareness. They'll tell you about music. Oh, she cries on the internet. Oh, she loves black people. Those are all feelings. Who I am in this earth, my calling is very much feelings-based, you know? Sharp, there'll be buzz. Oh, she said something so smart, sharp, cute. But me, I'm here. This is who I am, you know? And so knowing that, being aware of that, being cognizant of those things helps me navigate my life better, you know, confidently. Because before I discovered human design and knew that I have a defined solar plexus that's directly connected to my throat chakra, I didn't speak as confidently. I was a little, you know, and you wouldn't believe it.
And how old were you when you discovered this?
Literally 2 years ago. But you and I had a conversation where I was telling you that I faked it till I made it. And I used to worry before I discovered human design that people who knew me when I was faking my confidence would find me arrogant now that I'm really confident, right? Because my confidence was a lie. I was lying. Right? I was faking it till I made it. Why? Because how are you going to be a timid musician? You can do it, but it's not cute. You know?
can definitely do it.
You can do it, but it's not cute. Right? So I faked my confidence all these years while I was learning to love myself. Now I'm at the peak of it. You know, I love myself. I say even that I love myself more than I love my children. And that's like a controversial thing to say, right? But how do I love my children more than I love myself without resenting them? Because then I'm self-sacrificing. It's one thing to sacrifice and compromise, but to self-sacrifice leads to resentment. So I love myself more than I love anyone in this world because I can't pour from an empty cup. I have to be full. I have to be, you know, someone said in this algorithm of content that I get now, someone said the quality of a child's life depends on the quality of their mother's happiness.
Damn.
Right? So I'm always learning and discovering myself. And like, I think my ace is that I'm never like, oh, I'm done, I've learned everything. I'm always unpacking because we're ever evolving, you know? I'm always learning things. And I think also when you and I initially started talking, I said to you, I struggle because I didn't go to school, you know? So I used to feel less than. I used to feel like I can't say things in certain conversations because I don't know enough. All I have is my matric. I'm 36 this year and all I have is my matric. But fuck it, I've learned so much. The streets have taught me.
Yeah, definitely.
I left high school and I started working. I moved out of home. I was a teenager when I moved out of home. In hindsight, probably not the best decision for my heart, but I'm a G right now because I've been on the streets for so long, you know? I've been independent for so long. I've been paying my own bills, you know, for so long, right? So learning myself and accepting myself, but also learning that I'm changing. And so I will never completely know, right? I will always be figuring it out because every day there's an experience that changes me. Every day there's an experience that teaches me something, you know, because I'm open to that, because I want to learn. And I think perhaps that Achilles heel of not being able to go to school is what makes me receptive to learning every day.
Definitely.
You know, because I don't have this qualification where I'm like, this is what I do, this is what I know. I'm like a sponge just trying to learn and like unpack every day, everywhere, you know. I ask people questions, I get into conversations I probably shouldn't be in because I'm just curious, you know. I get into situations on my TikTok where I'm like, let's go. No, let's go. What do you have to say? Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm a student of this thing called life, and like, the day death comes for me, I'm trying to high five the nigga.
You.
Like, did you see what I did in my life? No, ndifuna death afike ephethe ibrand. Actually, before we go, I made some notes. You did this shit. What was, you know? Like, really, I want to high five death and not be asking for more time or be lamenting something I know. When I want to do a thing, I do it. When I want to tell a person a thing, I tell them, you know.
It's interesting that you say this because as someone who was raised in a religious home, there is that mantra in Xhosa or African Christian homes where respect your elders so that your days zonges, you know. And I've grown out of that. And so I can appreciate you saying that you love yourself more than you love your children, because I've gotten to a point where I want to love and respect my family, but what I am more interested in is living a quality life more than a long life.
Absolutely.
You know, and in that recognition, I have this thing we were saying that I am God. And
yes.
You know?
Yes.
If you see the world that way, you can then view your children as something separate but also the same as you. And so you cannot envy them or love them more than what you can do for yourself. But when it comes to astrology, for me, my brain short circuits because my background is in tech.
When you want to know everything.
I need 1 + 1 has to equal to something.
Some things we need to be content just figuring out. Because here's my thing, right? When Mercury is in the microwave, we can debate, but if we really sit and we are honest, there's a shift. Some of us are shifted more than others, you know? Some of us feel deeper than others. So it's normal, right? And even in human design, there are 5 different kinds of people. There are projectors, generators, manifestors, and, right? So we're not going to be affected the same way, but we're affected, you know? Whether it's systems easy or like a, you know?
The block for me when it comes to astrology is, I believe in science, and science tells us that the universe is like 14 billion years old. The planet is 4 billion years old. Humanity is about 300,000 years old. There was a time, for the longest time, when sunsets had no one to appreciate them until we came along. We gave meaning to beauty. Nothing was beautiful before we existed.
I don't know.
Really?
Just because we weren't there to call it beautiful doesn't mean it wasn't beautiful.
There is the philosophical question that says, if a branch breaks in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a noise?
It does.
How can you prove it?
You can't. And you have to accept that you can't prove everything. You have to accept that you can't know everything, you know? Because I think we burden ourselves with wanting to know. I think if you sit and think about it, your quality of wanting to know everything has helped you, but also sometimes it's burdensome.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
And so I think that as human beings, it's our nature to be curious, right? Hence the idea of God and religion, because we need to be able to put it down and understand it. Where did we come from? What makes us tick, right? But there are things you can know and there are things you can only figure out. And I think that there's so much happening in life that there are things you should just be like, oh, I can't figure that out. That's okay. It's okay. Like, I'm reading the book by who is it? Mark Manson, Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm learning what to give a fuck about.
Yeah.
You know, and like I might not be able to explain astrology to you in a way that convinces you, and I don't care. It's okay. You know, like it serves me, and I'm living a quality life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die, and one day I'm gonna say, "I was a Gemini," and it's fine. Everyone can say you're crazy, but like I'm fine. I don't need to make sense to anyone. You know, I make sense to me, and I think that if we lived that way, we'd let each other live, and we'd let ourselves live.
For me, the block comes at an intellectual level where I cannot allow myself to view something subjectively until I've understood it intellectually, you know? And so...
Clever over.
Not that I'm clever. I just need to understand first. I really...
Sorry.
You know?
I'm so sorry.
It is burdensome.
No one can understand the burden of needing to understand. I get it.
Because I look at people that look up the horoscope every day, and I'm like, Kaskundi, Penjel, that faith, you know?
I'm going to put you onto an app, right? I'm going to put you onto an app, and you are going to try that app out, and it's like, every day.
Do you know, okay, can I walk you through the logic
Yeah.
that says astrology is nonsense in my mind? Not nonsense, but it is given meaning by virtue of the fact that it is humans that give things meaning. You know,
I love that I'm putting you onto this app and we're having this conversation now, because like a month from now, when you're saying, "Oh my God, that app,"
but okay, I'll come back to that now. But here's the thing: I cannot see how the positioning of stars and the moon and the planets has any effect on your life. You know, what I can see and appreciate is how, at some point, the first humans looked up at the stars. You know, we do not know when was that.
Yeah.
Probably hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, we do not know. But eventually, those humans would have recognized that. Except when that star is visible, things start blooming.
Sure,
Let's make a note of that and see next time if
that star does this.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
But then the people that recognize that will not be able to explain that to everyone within the village. And one of the things that humans are very good at is creating narratives, is creating, is creating subjectivity to emphasize something that you cannot explain wholeheartedly to a person. So instead of saying that star is important because it marks when the food will be available next season, let's say that star is our ancestors. Let's say that star is a god, because we cannot really communicate this well enough to the most ignorant person within the village now. This is within the context of 200,000 years ago.
Sure.
How that then becomes diluted over time is how we get astrology. Because in the same way that understanding the position of the stars guarantees that you understand when food is going to be most available, you can then use the stars as well to navigate. But then how do you communicate that to the average Joe to say, okay, that thing is used to navigate?
We must all download CoStar. That's what we must do. And then we're going to learn what every planet represents and what your birth chart looks like and what that means for you. And that's that on that.
Is it real?
You'll tell us when you've tried the app.
But I think, I will say this though, that I think our biggest power as humans is our ability to create.
And our relationship with nature.
Yeah, but our ability to create, to make out of nothing something.
Absolutely.
That can dictate how we live our lives.
You know, it occurred to me that that's how we're made in the image of God, that God creates and humans create.
Explain.
No, I have nothing else to explain. It's just like the thought occurred to me as living beings, as living things. We're all animals, right? As living things on earth. Then my mind was like, yeah, but birds create nests out of twigs. So are they okay? but what do sheep create? You know, but we create, so that's why we're the godliest of the animals, no?
We are self-aware.
Right.
That's the only thing that separates us from the animals. You
Right.
can put a mirror in front of a pig, and it means nothing to see itself.
Right.
You know, but it means something
To
to
us.
you.
Right.
You know,
Right.
there's a principle called the anthropic principle that asks, why does the universe exist? And the anthropic principle says the universe exists because it has created the conditions for creatures to observe it and know that it exists. And just in that alone answers the question of why we are here. We are here because this
To witness.
To witness this thing. We are a part of this
And
thing.
witness each other.
To experience each other,
Right.
I think is the better
Right.
word. You know,
Absolutely.
when in Genesis it says, "Let there be light."
Ooh, come on now.
I think that's the moment of consciousness.
Yeah.
That's the moment
When the lights came on.
The lights came on.
Yeah.
Um,
Ding.
and I think we're gonna get there with AI. We're gonna
I'm
get there.
sorry.
We're honestly gonna get to a point where, and we've probably already achieved it, but we just don't know.
We're one species that is really good at evolving to our detriment, methinks. Like, we think we're getting better and we're just fucking everything up. Like,
We are so weird in the sense that we are no more different than we were 20,000 years ago when we were still in caves. You
tell
know?
us more.
Like, honestly, we are. They do find skeletons of prehistoric humans, you know, from 20, 30,000 years ago, whatever. Their brain sizes are actually bigger than ours now. And the mere fact that is because they had to do more than we have to do now. Like, if you had to survive 20,000 years ago, you couldn't go to Checkers to get your food. You know, you had
You have
to
to
know,
find the
you know,
food,
you-
kill the
yeah,
thing,
it-
then figure out how to prepare it.
You needed to know how to make the tools to survive. You need to know how to start a fire.
Meaning we had a better relationship with nature
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. There's a point where the historic record shows that in the beginning, the first deities or gods that we served were female.
Of course.
This is before we started farming, of course, you know. As soon as we started farming, it changed where most of the deities that humans were making up and worshipping were men. Because why? You need to farm. You have a greater appreciation for muscle and work ethic, waking up.
But we're the ones cooking human beings.
I mean, it's kind of weird that a woman's cycle coincides with the cycles of the moon.
Absolutely.
It's kind of weird that...
I don't think it's weird. I mean, it's profound.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why is that? You know?
Because we're God.
Why is a child engulfed in water in the womb? You know? Like, how do you explain that? Why is it that a child that is breastfed for at least 6 months of their life is much stronger and more emotionally intelligent than a child that's never been breastfed? You know? These are the questions that, for me, bring me back to that realization was, what is this Lwanyan?
Absolutely.
You know, and what are the things that makes this animal tick? You know, forget the narratives you've been born into that Allah is God or Muhammad is. I mean, forget that. This is Lwanyan. You know, appreciate that.
Appreciate your nature and live your nature. We're the only species that voluntarily lives outside of its nature more and more.
Yeah.
We move more as we evolve.
Yeah.
It's clever, Tina.
Yeah.
As we evolve, we
We-
move more and more away from our nature.
We probably one of the few species on the planet that has invented inside.
Why would we do that? Outside is so beautiful.
And we lose so much by being inside, you know? Like, I know so many people that tell me they depressed and this and that. I'm like, when was the last time you got sunlight?
I don't know. When was the last time you walked barefoot?
Yo.
And then we thought it was profound when Sue told us to hug trees. Like,
Did you say that?
no, yeah, that was his thing for a while. He was,
Really?
yeah. But also it was a thing. He'd always hug the tree with the can. Like, you know. Collab.
Ah, groot man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, it's sad because you have to go to the city to make your life better. And we are only now, some of us, realizing that the better life is elalini because you can grow your own food.
Definitely.
You have a relationship with nature. You can read nature. You know when it's going to be, when a storm is coming. You know, the animals know. You can see because you have a relationship with animals. You can read their behavior. You know, even silly things like genetically modified food and like, you know, that's because we've evolved so far from our nature. We should have just stayed there in the bushes. You know, now we're all scrambling to try and buy land. Now we're, you know.
The thing that I find amusing is how people come from the rurals in South Africa, move to the city, get their degree, get their paper, get their car, get their apartment and all that. And they will gravitate towards the Eastern philosophies that talk about Zen and being at peace with nature and all this. And I'm like, Usuka pa for nini? Who's it? You know, just because it has a fancy name.
It's got a fancy label now. It's Woolworths nature.
Yo, like some of the most evenly yoked people that I know. Basizlali.
Yeah.
You know, bakhuliswe ngumakhulu notamkhulu. They have an old soul.
Yes.
I have a friend. We are the same age, but he's so tiny. Like he's like this very short, tiny person. That dude is 20 years older than me.
Yeah.
We're the same age.
Yeah.
The way he carries himself. He grew. We met when I think we were about 15 when he came from the rurals and he lived next door to me. And the way he carried himself.
That relationship with nature is actually our superpower. So that was the whole point of taking the land, is to take your superpower.
For me, taking the land was taking our heritage. I mean, black people have a different relationship to land. It's not about ownership, you know? Like,
it's the relationship.
it's the
We are one.
you have
We are
with
one.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, and
We are one. And then even as ilali, ilali, you know, we if kuko into yenzekayo kokwenu, we'll all be there because it's our nature. You know? So taking that away from us was taking us away from ourselves. You know? It's sad.
Are you familiar with the story of uMgowo? Wasela.
No, you know, excuse me. So I try and be very present, but I also try and not burden myself with things I can't do anything about. And because I feel so deeply, there are things that like really when I think about, I don't watch news, I don't have a TV, like I don't subject myself to those things because things are sad, things are heavy. And I also, even with the elections coming up, I'm tense, I'm like anxious, but at the same time, I'm just like, what are you going to do about it? So why are you so invested? Like, sharp, be invested because these things matter. I have kids and like sharp, whatever. But also, we're triggering our own depression. We're burdening ourselves with all of this stuff. And also, social media makes things seem so much worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's not that we're in a really shitty place. I'm not gonna like downplay where we are. You know, as a people, as a society, as a country, economically, shit is whack right now. But it's not that bad. It's not as bad as like the alarms that are on TV and on the socials, right? So all these things, I like look at them and like, oh damn, that happened. Okay, and then I move on. Because what am I gonna do? I'm just a girl, bitch. Now. All I can do is sing and like talk and share my I'm humaning out loud, and that's all I can do.
And you're right. Tell us about the script you're writing.
We just handed in. Oh, it's so lovely that you're asking me today, because I told myself I wasn't gonna tell anyone about it. I overshare. Anyone who follows me on the socials knows that you guys know shit you shouldn't know, and I put it out there, right? So I overshare, but sometimes in my 30s I'm learning to shut the fuck up. Shh. Wait. So 2 years ago, on the 8th of June, NFVF awards me 100,000 rand of funding to develop my script. It's a rom-com about a girl who didn't put on her to-do list getting married and having a family, and then, society does what society does, and she gets bullied into feeling like something's missing. And so for the past 2 years, I've been writing that movie about this black woman who isn't doing what society says a black woman should be doing with her life and her body. And we've just submitted our last paperwork and invoices, and it's done. So since then, I've written like 3 movies. And I'm excited, I'm charmed by my bravery. Perhaps charmed is not the best word, but like I'm so excited for myself to be a child, to be a student, to not know what I'm doing. And then figure it out, so that a few years from now, when I'm standing on a stage accepting an award, I can say, guys, oh wow, I'd like to thank this guy, Mli Dube, because like, oh my gosh, you like taught me everything I know. And I'd like to, and to see something that I started from scratch become me, when I can say I'm a filmmaker. I'm a musician and a mother and a this and this, and I'm also a filmmaker, I write scripts about black women and their stories and their lives and their hearts,
Is it important to you to be immortalized in your work?
What's important to me is to say to my children, you can do anything you want to do, and to be proof of it. That's what's important. I don't know so much about being immortalized because I'll be gone, it won't matter. It's cute, it's nice. It's like filling for people to acknowledge you. I won't take that away. I won't act like it's not nice when people say, yo, ingoma yako. But at the end of the day, I think I'm still an artist. There have been many points in my life where I wanted to give up. On life, but also just this music thing. It's hard to be a musician in South Africa. Especially as a hot woman. Yes. I said it. But like, what's most important to me is to say to my children, you can be anything you want to be, as long as you decide that that's what you want to be, and then do everything it takes to get that done. That's what's important for me. So, my kids love my music. My little one wakes up and like wherever he is, he'll play Zoo. My mama is so beautiful. And then he'll play a song and we sing his song. Like I've written songs for him. We sing them at bedtime. I've written songs for both of my kids. They know their songs. My 14-year-old came to my last gig and he was like involved, So like, it's important to me that I'm an example of what I'm teaching, that I'm not just spewing and preaching, that I'm a living example of the things that I'm trying to teach them.
And you're also a teacher to other people's kids.
I know, like,
how is that experience?
It's mind-blowing, it's humbling. They take me so seriously. Wow. I talk and they'll be, ooh, bars, and they'll pull out their phone, and by the time I get home, the group is full of quotes by Miss Zoo.
How old are they?
16, 14, 16. They're like grade 10, 11, 12, and like I see how important I am to them. And, when I think back to teachers who made a difference in my life, you, as a adult, you go back to those years like Mrs. Ndondon or, Mr. Spanban, he really made my life whatever, right? Miss Zoo matters to these young people, and like they'll text me, the one girl texted me while they were on camp, and she's just like, Miss Zoo, these kids are being so mean to me, and like they're smoking and I don't smoke, and they're treating me like I don't fit in. And I'm like, find your tribe. Why are you so mad that people don't like you? Like, do you like you? Do you like you? That's really all that matters, So I'm being the adult I needed. I'm being the adult that I needed when I was a child. I didn't have, adults who looked like me, who weren't conventional.
That's an important one.
That's an important one. I exist. Like, the woman who's got all these tattoos and piercings is a wholesome person. You know, it's not to say that, oh, just because you've got, because you know my TikTok dramas, you know, just because you look a certain way, it means, unongroy, you know.
Unongroy.
You know what I mean? So I matter to these kids, and I'm vulnerable with them. Every session we have starts with a mental health check-in, and I ask, where are you on the scale? On a scale of 1 to 10, how's your mental health today? I haven't seen you in a week. What have been the lowlights and highlights of your week? You know, even when I get on the phone with my teenager, hey, Baba, lowlights, highlights? Oh, mommy, you know, no highlights, but this guy at school, you know, and then we unpack because it matters. Their feelings matter, you know, and sometimes I realize I'm doing more than their parents are. And it's not because their parents don't love them. Their parents are busy. School fees are expensive. Life is hectic. You know, so to be able to play that role in their lives is humbling. It boosts me even. I feel important, you know, like not that I didn't before them, but like they really validate me. They take me so seriously, man, you know, and they think I'm so talented and they listen to my music, you know, and they're so talented. So I made them write a song. I gave them homework. I said, they kept coming to mental health check-ins with like problems, and they were like, I'm a 3 today. Damn, I'm a 4, you know?
Out of 10.
Out of 10. You're 16. What do you mean? You have such a long life ahead of you, you know? But the kids are stressed. And I said, okay, homework, write me a minimum of 4 lines about how hard life is. And they came in with all their different verses, some about love, some about homework, some about just living, you know? And the hook says, I love life, but I hate living. You know, and so these kids come into this and they bring their feelings and we write the song, and now they have a song. I know what it feels like to write a song. So to be able to give them that, you know, a song that they've written, but also a song about their feelings that other kids are listening to and going, you guys wrote that? Ma'am, you're cooking, man. You're cooking, man. You know? So it's beautiful. It even makes me feel like a good mom, because my kids don't engage me like these kids do, because they're my kids. You know, but like seeing myself through these children's eyes I'm winning awards. I'm winning awards every Thursday.
Everyone can at least recall one teacher in their 12 years of schooling, at least one that really made an impact on them. And man, I have one, you know, and I don't think I would have woken up to the realization of the things that I realized in high school if it wasn't for this one guy, you know. He was very honest with me, you know, and when your type of honesty is non-verbal. You know, singakathethi sendiyazi ukuthi ngoba if you are smiling at me, you are happy. If you are not smiling, kukhona into wrong. Your awards, your awards are for another life. I honestly believe that you've being a teacher and being a good one is 2 different things.
It's true.
Being a good teacher, you've touched generations without even knowing it. You know, these kids will probably remember you for the longest.
Yeah. So, you know, my sister and I work at the same school, and like seeing how other teachers engage the kids versus how we do takes me back to that thing you were saying of, you know, people who are healers through their work have felt a lot. I see it. My sister and I have the same upbringing, right? And so how we come to these kids, how we're raw and vulnerable with these kids speaks to what we yearned for when we were kids, you know? And how we show up as moms, because we're both moms, you know, and we have these real conversations with our kids as well, you know, because if you're not having these conversations with your children, who's going to have them with them, you know? So I am aware of, I'm increasingly aware every time I come to class, it builds on my awareness of the importance of my job, you know, the importance of my existence, you know, without sounding arrogant, like just being very clear that I'm very important now. I'm necessary now. You know, like that humbles me. It makes me emotional, you know. It makes me feel a bit crazy because I'm just like, but it's you though. I'm like, yeah, but it's not, but it is. But oh, okay. You know, it's like I'm a passenger in my life. Like the way I can experience my life, ingati ayindim, you know, like, because I think I don't get too caught. I can get caught up in it, but like I also am able to step back and like observe it and like drink it, you know, the good and the bad, because that's the balance of feeling. When you're versed in feeling, you know that you must feel both.
Do you think you've been here before?
Yes, quite a few times. I have 6 voices in my I have 6 voices in my head. I'm convinced that this is my 6th time here and my second last lifetime. And the reason I say this is my second last lifetime is because I feel like I have learned so much in this timeline, but also there are old lessons where I'm like, this feels familiar, right? But I also know that even though I'm young and I still have quite some time to go, inshallah, I'm not done. And I'm of the hope and belief that I'll come back as one of my grandchildren, because I'm building something and I want to reap the rewards of that. I'm not going to get to feel the things that I'm building the way that I'd like to feel them. So I'd like to be a descendant. I'm of the belief that I'm going to come back as umzukulwana wam.
Okay, then my next question is,
yes.
Do you think your lifetimes have been lived in the same lineage that you find yourself in?
I don't know. I don't want to lie to you. I don't know. Because there are people that are in my life now that aren't my family, that were my family before. So then it doesn't make sense for me to say I've been in the same family the whole time. Because then am I saying that I stayed and they keep coming and going?
And them having been in your family in past lives, does that equate to you being in turmoil or?
Sometimes.
Because siblings always fight.
Yeah. So I have, anyone who follows me knows that I have 2 sons and they each have their own father. Those niggas and I were triplets in another life. Nah, for real. We were triplets in some timeline, and I see it in how we relate to each other now. Like the one is my best friend, and the other one hates my guts. You know, the one is my boy. We literally talk every day. Our kids are even born on the same day. Our second born children. So we have a son, and then he has a daughter, and I have a son. They're born on the same day, a year apart, and we can celebrate as a family. But that other nigga, I don't even talk to him. I don't even talk to, and we piss each other off. Like I've never seen him that angry. Like the way I make him angry, and I've also never felt the kind of rage that he puts in me. So in Dalaland, there's no way we just met. Nah. That's ancient. That's ancient history. We've got history. When they say we have history, that's what they're talking about.
What was the moment that you realized that?
So the moment I was given the information, I was like, oh, okay. Like this white guy I think he was a Reiki, and he was like, at the time I only had 1 child. He was like, the father of your son and the man you're seeing right now, the 3 of you were triplets. And I was like, okay. And at the time I was operating from my father wound, so it was profound. It's like, yes, of course, you are meant to be with me. 7 years later, you know, now we have a child, and I'm just like, oh. Also, we had this child at a time where I was trying to cut ties with you, and then God said, no, for life. Ketile. Ay, khona buyisela. You know, so definitely there's history there. And the more I'm in this life with them, the more I realize it. the more I realize it. Because, I mean, it's not like the best friend and I were always best friends. We also had our, and like siblings do, we worked through it. Now we're besties. We healed, and we love each other.
Why do you think things are so sour with?
Because he still wants my bums. No, I think that when you have unresolved issues and when someone triggers you in a certain way, that if you're not doing the work to unpack the place that they trigger, then you will always just share conflict, And sex carries a lot of energy. And when your relationship, when your relationship with a person is based in sex, it complicates your vibration, it complicates your energy, but it also makes more of it than it actually is. Because sex in itself is such a big vibration, and so when you connect with a person on that level, you think it's more than it is. And sometimes it is, but that's not where it's supposed to sit, So I think that, honestly, without casting shade, I don't think he's doing the work on himself. And I think that his relationship with life, and generally, not just me, speaks to his lack of work on self. I think when you're working on yourself, your life starts to show, that's what you're doing. The people you engage, see you and the work that you're doing. And sometimes you lose people, you change, So, yeah, it's unfortunate. We pray for him. And it's not my portion, It's just that we share this beautiful soul that we have to raise together. And so I'm of the hope that at some point it'll click and he will join the party, and we can all be wholesome human beings. But also, him not doing the work doesn't mean my son won't be an amazing man, because it takes a village, and I have a very healthy village, co-parenting with me. There are some amazing men in my life that my children call malume, and their existence is gold for me, because it means that my children know different kinds of men, and they know that they, get to choose the kind of men that they become as well, So it's unfortunate, that we're in a place as people where we have so much baby mama, baby daddy turmoil and drama, but hopefully we'll get somewhere.
What do you think is at the core of the pain that most South African men fail to process?
Because you're told when you're growing up that you shouldn't cry.
Yeah.
Growing up, when you are still trying to figure out and regulate yourself, you're told, don't do that. I think that you're supposed to do to balance who you are, to cultivate your emotional intelligence. You're told, cut that shit off. That's not what you're going to do. Why? You have feelings, and your feelings matter. So then you disable yourself. You paralyze yourself. And the more the more you become lopsided, because the balance of life is feeling all of your feelings, So if you're allowed to laugh, why are you not allowed to cry? Why?
I think
that's such a toxic thing for us to have done to you.
I think that concept of indodaikali comes from a time when, honestly, life was much more cruel.
Of course.
And we haven't adapted for the times.
Okay, sukhala pa ebuhlandi, but when you are with your mlingani there, surely you should have somewhere to be vulnerable. Surely, and then it's not, because even your wife is saying, don't do that. It's unattractive. Man who cries.
Even on socials.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I saw today? Someone said it's the weakest men who become stepfathers. It was a woman who said that.
You.
So broken. It's broken. And we're projecting brokenness. Hurt people are hurting people. And I don't know, man. It's problematic. It's problematic because then you become these stunted people, but we still expect you to be a part of the family, a wholesome family with a stunted head.
Damn.
And then you must also be functional. You must provide and protect, but you can't feel your feelings.
Yeah. Like as a man, I don't know how many times I've been at a low and I knew I had no one to talk to besides maybe like my best friend, and even he would get a diluted version of the pain that I was feeling, you know. I have been in so many low moments where I recognized ukuthi damn, hi, I'm alone, you know, and especially coming from the Eastern Cape. Yeah. For in Zulu, like, I don't think people get it.
No.
I don't think people get it. Like being indoor, the concept of being indoor in the Eastern Cape it's part of the fabric of the communities that are built.
I mean, even with the get up at varsity, because it's a proud moment, you know, and we don't talk about all of it, all the compartments of that proud moment, you know.
I have a friend whose father is Venda, and we grew up together. We were the same age. When this nigga was 9, he disappeared for a month. And then came back, 9 years old, came back, and all of a sudden,
tough guy,
you know, like, and we spoke about it at a later point, like, how did it feel? And you'll be like, yo,
so you're 9, bro.
You're 9 years old.
9, bro.
9 years old. We talked about the experience of going to Limpopo, the experience of going to Endabeni, like being in this place where you do not know the people, you barely understand the language, and you are doing it. Like you just have to be there and do it. You don't understand why, but you just have to be there and do it. And then you go back to the Eastern Cape, and in a culture where usually you don't go when you are 9 years old, it was a bit weird, but at the same time, they got it. You know, when at 9 years old, you are there with men drinking beer. You know, like so people don't really appreciate how our cultures engrave this idea of what it means to be a man. You know, I've been in moments when I've tried to, what was the word you used? Unalive myself. And in the build up to those moments, I recognized that the patriarchy that had put me at that place where I was ready to give up was the same reason why I couldn't. Because who's gonna take care of my mom? Like that was it came to him like, who's gonna take care of my mom? You know?
Why are your problems more important?
Like, I'm here because of that realization. And that alone just like slapped me in the face.
Crazy.
Say, bruh.
I shot something with my best friend about 3-4 years ago. I can't remember which of the bajillion gender-based violence stories had triggered me doing this. But I spoke to about 9 black men. And one of the questions I asked was, when was the last time you cried? Yo, shocking.
You asked me this question when we met. And you couldn't remember. I couldn't remember until I remembered. I remembered a few days later. Now I'm trying to think when was it? I'll think about it. Continue. Continue.
No, it's crazy because like it's usually something as hectic as when I was burying my grandmother, or you know, for the more emotionally in tuned ones, when my daughter was born, you know. But it's not like I'm a crier. I could have, I don't know, we could have had some kind of point in this conversation where something made me cry. I'm extremely comfortable with my tears, you know. And so it makes me so sad when I encounter people who, for you, it's such a foreign thing. Leak before you burst. I even printed t-shirts. I'm like, yo, you need to leak before you burst. How are you sitting with all those feelings? And just, don't you feel like it was a babuga? You know? Because it's just like, earlier I said, if you can laugh, why are you not allowed to cry, right? Because when you laugh, it's not like you laugh, bruh. You have such a big, bold laugh. Imagine having to stifle your laugh, the way you like numb and censor your tears. That's crazy. Then what is humaning? To human is to feel. To human is to tribe, you know? And so it makes me really sad, such that I wrote kids' music. And one of the songs on there is Boys Should Be Allowed to Cry. It says, I have thoughts and feelings too. Sometimes my heart feels so blue. Sad days, happy days, good days, bad days. All my feelings every day. Boys should be allowed to cry, letting all their pain pass by. Like, it's so important to me. I mean, something comes to mind now. My son, the youngest one, left one day, and his brother and I were like, whew, that was a tough weekend. But then we lied down together on the floor and we cried because we already missed him. My teenager and I held each other on the floor, and we were exhausted because his brother's a terrorist. But because, we miss him already. And we held each other, and that was a moment that I allowed my teenage boy to have. Because why can't he cry? He loves his brother, and now his brother's left. And yes, I'm relieved you're gone. Thanks for giving me a break. But I love you so much, and it's so nice to be around you. Those are a lot of feelings. Why should I tell my child, don't cry? Feel your feelings. Part of human nature is to feel, you know? So it makes me very sad that we're forcing you to be tough. And I get it. There needs to be a balance. I get it. Masculine energy, great. But it's not fair. It's not right.
I'm remembering now the last time I cried was my uncle's funeral.
Another funeral.
You know, like I saw him before he passed away. He died of cancer. I couldn't cry. Like I couldn't bring myself to that point. At the time.
Because you had to be strong and keep shit together. Because if you cry, then everyone cries. Someone's got to keep it together. Okay.
Imagine.
All right.
But the moment they took him out of the car, the casket, like they took out the casket out of the car.
And it dawned on you.
I'm like, yo, he's gone.
And he's not coming back.
At 72 years old, he's gone. And singabatswana, kotat. And there are certain rites and rituals that have to be done before the burial.
Yeah.
And abatswana you know. And so one of the songs that they sang, it just hit like the moment before they opened the hearse to take out the casket, there is this giant of a man that ever since I became a man myself, I've always known his voice through songs. Never heard him speak.
Wow.
Never heard him speak. But his voice, my goodness. I heard his voice. I did not see him that morning. And I heard him from the distance. Within 2 seconds, the tears were here. God damn, like my cousins, his sons are right next to me. We went to Endaben song. He was the uncle that was there for us. He was the father that was there for us because his little brother, my dad, passed away when I was 4. And I'm like, I can't cry. These guys, they already crying, but I can't cry. I held it in.
Yeah.
Like, the tears went out, but I couldn't,
indulge them. Yeah.
Man, that was the last time I cried. January 2016.
No, look, I also tell my kids, if you can't do it now, make an appointment. Make an appointment with your feelings, you know? And if you can't voluntarily leak, find the song or the movie or the clip or the photo that is the trigger, is the key to your emotional place. But you have to be able to reach your emotional place. If you can't reach your emotional place, how are you loving? Where are you loving from? Because those things sit in the same place. Your feelings are all sitting in the same place, the good ones and the bad ones. So if you are locking these ones out, utizawuphuma is right ke ezozifunayo zizawuphuma phi because uthixele eziyana vula.
But I feel like it's a Pandora's box.
I get it,
you know.
But if you can't face the box in you, what's the point? Ndikuthini mna xa ungazazi wena uba mawuzithini wena? Ndifikelela njani mna pha when you've locked yourself out? You know? You if you can't reach you, how do you share you? You know?
I like speaking to people.
We know.
And one of the things that comes off when you speak to people of a certain generation, 30 and above, when they speak about their parents, as wonderful as they can describe their parents, there's always a lack of that emotional comfort, especially with their fathers.
You know, we're going. uMgowo uqale ngayo. You know, there was apartheid, and you know, there's the separation of families. The fathers having to go make money, the mothers, you know, having to take care of the home, and the family being ripped apart. You know, so they had so many responsibilities, and they also, you know, want to create this picture of themselves, flawless and like, you know, people who don't make mistakes, and not from a place of malice or uziphakamisa, but in an attempt, I think, to be role models, you know, and not understanding, because kaloku ithi cawe, you must act a certain way, and singabantu becawe, sonke. Different churches, but singabantu benkolo. There's a time where we went from being spiritual to being a religious people, you know. And so growing up in the church, raising your kids in the church, having to present a certain picture, it changes you, you know. You also, the idea of not exposing your kids to things they are too young for. But also you're having these conversations in front of us anyway. So just because you're not talking to me doesn't mean I'm not aware, right? Because that's another thing, right? The kids aren't sent away when the sensitive talks about Tumalumunansika are being had. We're still here listening, right? But no one's talking to you. So I think that being preoccupied with trying to keep food on the table and clothes on our backs, and also trying to navigate their own issues and like their own traumas. I say to my kids, your kids are also your parents are also broken children, you know? And so I think generally we don't realize how big a job parenting is, generally. And we're usually not prepared for it. And we usually have to figure it out as we go. And then you figure out that this child is not the same as this child. So what I learned and I thought I mastered is irrelevant now. And so you have to start again, but it's frustrating because you know. So I think becoming a mom gave me so much more grace for my parents. You know, becoming an adult also, it's just like, yo, life is tough. When she said she didn't have money, it's not because that, like, okay, I get it now, you know.
I believe there are people that never get to the point where they realize their parents were once a confused kid, just like they were, you know?
Are they realizing the things of self? I think it's when you realize the things of self that you can give others grace. When you're having conversations with yourself, that you can give others grace. Because it's like, until you know the thing, unganqandwa ngabantu bathi sukuya pha, but until uye pha uzibonele. These are just words, you know? So I think if you're not interrogating life through your own lens and your own experience, you can't afford anyone grace because you're so caught up in your thing, in your cycle, in your experience.
Because the only thing you've ever seen is the world from your perspective, from your eyes. You are the producer, director, writer.
And depending on how you view yourself and the conversations that you have with yourself, that's either good or bad. You know, you can use your experiences and be the most like empathetic and like emotionally intelligent person, and someone else can sit in the experiences and just be like, oh my God, my life sucks, this is horrible, you know, and not unpack and not interrogate and not submit. Or sometimes you need to submit. It's like a balance of submission and like fighting and like knowing and figuring out and not knowing and being and becoming and learning and unlearning and, you know, it's a process, it's a journey.
Should we call it there?
Unfortunately, you know.
Singathetha kude kuse. Kuba nzima uyinqanda xa siqalile yazi.
Ayishushu.
Madoda. But ndiyabulela for being here.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
I have a website that I designed
Really? You a techie?
No, I'm not. I found the hack.
Okay.
There's a host, GoDaddy.com.
Mm-hmm.
And zumakesmusic.co.za.
Okay.
ZU makes music, one word. Dinguzu with a dot, period. That period is important. You won't find me without the period.
Is the significance to the period?
That's it. That's all. So I was thinking about it, and igama lam Nozuko. But I don't introduce myself as that. It's not even
First time I'm hearing it.
Fantastic. Love it. The little boy in me has issues with being Nozuko. So I usually say, hi, Zuko. But the thing about Nozuko is sistiko. Very personal. So nbiza ngegama lam because awundazi. Xa uzawuthi Nozuko kum, it makes me feel naked, and I don't know why you are seeing me naked. Why? Because I don't know you. You know what I mean? So I am Zu because you will never forget Zu. I've never met anyone who met me and that, hi, I'm Zu, who ever forgot Zu. And
One
then
syllable.
when I say Zu with a dot, then you see it, and maybe I'm wearing the hoodie and you can see Zu with a dot. It's simple. You can't mispronounce it. Look, it's great, guys, to want to teach everyone how to say your name. I support you. But I don't want that admin. There are other things I want to deal with. Dinguzu. And that's that. I'm Zu of ZuCo. My band is Zuko Collective. So when you take the Zu and the Co, it becomes ZuCo. Like ZuCo, right? Love it. So, yeah. My mom calls me... my mom's gossiping, Nozuko, or my siblings.
Your mom always call you by your full name.
No, but sometimes Nozuko, and also my mom respects me enough sometimes to call me Zu. Like recently, she's been calling me Zu, and I think it's the cutest shit ever. Like I love it. Like she sees me, my girl sees me, right? But it's a place to hear. I am Zu. That's who you know. You don't know this other girl. That's not who this is. The girl you own, the girl who comes for your healing, the girl who comes for your churching, that's Zu. You must respect that I told you my name is Zu. Don't try and act familiar now. You want to call me Nozuko on the streets, you slide into my DM, you want to call me Nozuko. You don't know that girl. That's not the girl who's singing the aha moment. That's the girl who received the aha moment. But when we get on stage, this relationship is this one that I've told you it is. You must respect that. The same way you ask people their pronouns. Dinguzu, Dibuda. Dinguhroti, Kuwe, Dinguzu, Dazu. You get it? So, Unozuko sisixhosa sekhaya, it's a very personal place, and I get to choose who goes there. The people who know me well enough to call me that, fantastic. But sometimes also, don't call me that because it sounds like I'm in trouble. You understand? That's how deep it is. It's a key to a deep place. You don't know me like that. So I am Zu. And I'm Zu Makes Music everywhere. ZU Makes Music. Literally, my handle on all the socials is Zu Makes Music. So that's where you can find me. I have music on all the DSPs. I recently released something called Tones of Epiphany that we were talking about earlier. I'm working on music at the moment. I'm reviving my band, Zuko Collective. We are playing a very spiritual and important event in October that I can't talk about now, but I'm definitely going to talk about soon.
Okay.
And
then you need to come back in October.
I can't wait for the date. Yes, so you can find me on all the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and on my website, zumakesmusic.co.za. Like I said, you can stream everywhere. Stream because it's very important. It matters. Share it because that's what artists need. You need to share us. I also have children's music under the moniker Sons of Zu. SUNS, Sons. Lang.
I love the lullaby.
Sons of Zu, yeah, man. Because the children are important and they deserve their own music. We can't be here, sonke. No, like we need to make children appropriate music, and that's what they need to be listening to. So I've made some music for our brown babies. And I intend on making more music. The last thing I released on that project was a song called Save the Earth. So Sons of Zu, Save the Earth. Yeah, there's lots more coming. Hopefully soon, next year, we'll be watching a movie by Nozuko. But yeah, I'm quite talented. So, there's lots coming up. The more I become, the more I give. I'm a tungist, I'm a beadist. One day there'll be a festival where we come to heal deliberately. And yeah, I can't wait to share all of that.
Wow. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Man, it's always hard to end these good conversations because
I'm so proud of you, by the way, because you and I spoke when you were still like dreaming about this. And to see you, black man, fetch your things and stand on business. I love that. I love that for you as a black man. I love that for you as a young man. I love that for you as a person who loves to talk to us. I think we need more wholesome podcasts.
Yeah, definitely.
That aren't based on the scoops and dramas of life and just telling.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you because we literally you were like, oh, I'm thinking of doing this. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And you're like, would you? And I was like, oh, really? What would we talk about?
I remember that conversation.
Yeah. So thank you. And it's super cool for me also to be one of the first few guests to be able to look back and say, when you are fucking shit up, to be able to say I was there in the beginning. I was there when you were dreaming about it. I'm very proud of you. Thank you for having me. It's humbling. And I've enjoyed this conversation.
The thing that I said to you during that conversation was that the reason why you need to be here is because there's gonna be so many zoos out there.
It's
I'm
true.
like, she's talking.
And I wasn't this confident about this conversation when we had that conversation. And so the timing's perfect because I am me now in every sense.
So what would be your advice for anyone out there that sees themselves in you?
Feel your feelings. Don't stop. I think lifing is a muscle. To human is a muscle. Anyone who's tried gymming and then stopped, that you have to build the muscle. So don't stop. Even when, especially with the writing, I find I used to think I'm such a whack writer. I used to be in this duo called Love Glory, and I'd compare myself to my partner, be like, yo, we are bala wena. I used to be so insecure about my writing. And what I say to, young artists who talk to me about the writing process is, even if it sounds stupid, write it down, because you might come back a year from now and find it profound. Ooh. But if you hadn't written it down, you wouldn't have it to look back on, So write. I've always got something to write on in my bag. Write, express, vula lomlomo, know thyself. Self-love is self-love. That is the beginning of everything, because if you know yourself, then you know how to communicate, you know how to teach people who you are, you know what you need, you know how to feed you, so I would say don't stop. I would say keep dreaming. I'd say, be kind to yourself. How you love yourself speaks to how the quality of your life, so be arrogant about how you love yourself.
There is a quote, I forget who said it. They say, God is the blanket we throw over mystery to give it shape.
Say it again, King. Say it again.
In Zulu.
Say it again. Say it. Louder for the ones in the back.
God is the blanket we throw over mystery to give it shape. And by that, I take showing up to the thing that you were gifted is you uncovering that mystery, is you uncovering your godliness. Just showing up, just be there. If it's writing, do it every day. If it's dance, do it every day. Whatever it might be, just show up. And Yabulala, that you showed up today.
Thank you.